I just forgot that. Now, let's just begin what we know, beginning with Telecom. And I wish to invite the Chief Executive Officer of Telecom to make a brief statement. Thereafter, we'll invite the ED of Health, then the CEO of CRAN, then the ED of OPM to make statements. Then we'll take questions from the media, if there are any questions at all. Then we'll begin to invite the Chief Executive Officer of Telecom, Mr. Dr. Shanupinda, CEO.
Thank you, Edie, and thanks for having Telecom Namibia to answer a few questions, concerns that the Namibian public and our customers have, which are valid, and then we will try and address many of them today as best as we possibly can, but we'll continue to update the general public going forward. And so we're very grateful for this opportunity to be invited to this information center to do just that. This is one of the primary reasons why the center has been set up. So perhaps let's go back to the incident itself, explain a little bit about the context there, and that will help us address a few of the concerns that have been out there. So Telecom Namibia detected the unauthorized access around early November in this particular regard. We immediately stopped the hacker from going further into our systems. They were in the file server where we keep documentation. Largely the files at that time that were accessed were company details around finance, and we thought that that's where this was limited to. Now, since early November to date, or to last week, nothing happened in this particular regard from the hacker side. What we did as Telecom Namibia since then is that we engaged international cybersecurity experts to investigate and find the root cause and issue us with a report. That was done within hours of detecting that data was being copied because that was very abnormal, and it was picked up by our security incident management system. So we cut out the access to the hacker so that they don't copy any further files and load it up to the cloud, and that's what we did. Now, the data that was copied was roughly 626 gigs of data. That amount represents only 1.69% of all the data that we have as Telecom Namibia. We have over 370,000 terabytes of data. And so let me just correct myself there. We have over 337, let me just get the correct number there. Yes, we have over 37,000 gigabits of data, which is 3.7 terabytes of data, and only 626, which represents 1.69% of the data is what was copied. Because of their swift action in identifying this hacker, they were cut out and they couldn't copy any further files because of the SIM that we have in place. With that, I want to correct one particular report in today's Windhoek Observer that indicated that a virus compromised our system. There was no virus. What the attacker did is what they call in cybersecurity living off the land. So this access was an unauthorized access through VPN. We have, in the meantime, addressed those issues, and we'll share a little bit about that. Living off the land is once they access or enter through a laptop and they are able to go into the system, They then use legitimate files that are already in the system that you would use to copy and move documents and create subfolders. So they do this to hide in plain sight. So they use legitimate files that you already have in your system, because uploading a file would be suspicious. So they didn't use any viruses for that. And then they started copying over the file. So there was no virus that was used in this particular incident. And living off the land tactics are very difficult to detect. But when we saw files being copied, that's when we picked it up. We locked down the system, and then we put in remedial action. What were those remedial actions that we took? We immediately asked our employees to change their passwords, their credentials. We restricted VPN or remote access. Employees had to come to the office to access the particular systems. We re-imaged and reproduced the data. We obviously got the cybersecurity expert to do that particular investigation. All the recommendations that were proposed, we fully implemented. What we are currently busy with now is also the rolling out of multi-factor authentication with our employees. With regards to our customers, we absolutely regret this particular incident. Earlier indications were it was only customer information that was leaked. Further on, once the hacker released the files on Friday the 13th last week, we then saw that there was personal information released. On Thursday, that was not the case. Nothing was leaked, nothing was released, and from the information we had, it was only company information. Now, going back to 8 November, to what happened last week around the 12th of December. As I indicated, during that period, Telecom Namibia introduced all of the cybersecurity measures that we could possibly do to protect the environment and to restore the files to normal and the services at our teleshops and offices. Last week, the hackers then posted on the dark web that they have 626 gigs of data. At the same time, they approached us to discuss a possible ransom. That was the first time last week when they made communication directly with us. We do not negotiate with cyber terrorists. There's no guarantee that they will keep the information safe or that they will abide by their end of the bargain. And these amounts are too astronomical and probably unaffordable. We didn't meet the deadline to agree and negotiate with them because we didn't engage them. And that's why, and so they gave us a deadline of a couple of days to come up with the money and engage with them. That was between 11th and 12th of December, and on the 13th, the morning they released the information. And that's with those files that we were able to comb through what was entailed in there, and it was personal information that was released. So let's be clear on what was released and what was not released. This is information such as ID documents, residential addresses that customers would typically submit to Telecom to apply for a service, okay? This is not any web browsing information of any customer or browsing history. Those servers were not affected at all, okay? So this is just documentation that was leaked out there. There have also been reports about information about prominent Namibian individuals, also our own president, the Office of the President, Office of the Prime Minister, Ministry of Home Affairs, Ministry of Health. Now let's make one thing categorically clear. These agencies and other institutions apply for services to Telecom Namibia. We also request formal documentation from these agencies, and they submit application forms, whether we issue them with devices, lines to their offices, and the information that was released is contained and restricted to official requests and applications for services to these particular institutions. So the relation to personal information of individuals that may be working at this particular institutions are information around the number, the phone number that they would have registered or on a particular device, or an ID document that would have been submitted so that this phone could be issued to that particular government employee, or an employee within a private company that's applying for the service on behalf of that employee to issue that device to that employee to use as a tool for work. So this is where all of this is restricted, and no other sensitive information, as I've indicated earlier. We have been engaging these key government agencies and officers and shared with them, and will continue to share with them, the information that's been released about them as per what I've just described. We've already shared that information with the Office of the President as well. Going forward, what have we done and what are we doing to ensure that we protect and strengthen this environment and that ensure that customers can trust us? We are introducing the multi-factor authentication for our employees through VPN access to our systems. We are going to run training for our cybersecurity team as well as for our employees to create awareness. We have asked employees to update their passwords, and we regularly do that on a monthly basis in any event as part of our protocols. We have updated cybersecurity policies and procedures and incident reporting processes in place that have been recently updated, and we are implementing those as well. The tips that we would want to give to our customers is the following. You may be at risk of your data being used to impersonate you, where someone could obtain this data and pretend that they are you. In that particular instance, we would ask you not to engage any third party that you don't know that may be asking you to make any payments to Telecom Namibia or any other institution. Someone that may be asking you for your one-time PIN for e-wallet because now they may have your telephone number. Or impersonating to be from Telecom because they have your residential address to come to your house for one reason or another. And in that particular case, you can always contact our customer care center to verify the identity of these particular employees. You can reach out to us on our customer care center on social media if you have any concerns and queries going forward. We know that the Namibian's headline today says that people are living in fear. We want to urge the media to report on this in a responsible manner. If any of our customers are living in fear, and you may be, contact our customer care center. We will give you advice on how best to protect and go forward. We have also briefed our frontline staff and our staff working in the back office as to the questions you may have and how those questions can be addressed, and explain to you how this happened, what we are doing, and what we will be doing going forward to restore that trust. And we're looking at particular actions that we can take for our customers to better protect them going forward. The other tip that we will also give to our customers is people generally use their ID numbers, their date of birth, their residential addresses, names of loved ones and family and friends as a combination for their passwords. Please change your passwords to your devices immediately. Use a strong password that has a combination of letters, symbols, and numbers. Don't use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. Don't use 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Don't use 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Use the 0 use a letter, use a symbol to protect yourself and change that immediately. We would also want to urge all the Namibian public to remain calm in this particular instance. This was an incident that was addressed, the harm was minimized, and we are working with law authorities. We've engaged CRAN, responsible for the cybersecurity in this country, and given them the necessary information. We have also engaged law enforcement, and we are working with them on how we can track down and through international agencies track these particular hackers and to address this. Because we know that this particular incident is not restricted to just Telecom Namibia, and it will not be the first time that this is done, and so we need a very concerted effort as a country to address these particular incidents, and we pledge our cooperation with law enforcement, with national security agencies to get to the root cause of this particular instance. At this point in time, we are willing to answer any questions or comments. You can approach our PR department. We may not be able to respond to all the questions and all the requests for information from our media and for our public. We want to ask for your patience, as this is a developing issue. We have a lot of stakeholders that we need to engage, that in time that we will get back to you. We will obviously issue public statements to a broader audience, and that could be your first source of information going forward. If there's any information that you are questioning that's being shared and raised, please do check with us so that we can fact check what is out there and what is being reported on. With this, I would also like to thank very much the key agencies and government, the various ministries, the ministers that we have engaged since Friday, that have offered their great support, and that's been behind us all the time. Also, the media that has reached out to report on this and that were able to accommodate us, we really appreciate that, and we will continue to engage with you. If there's anything I may have missed out during the Q&A session, we'll be more than happy to address those. Thanks, Edie.
Thank you very much, Stanley. I think we know more now than what is being speculated in the media. One of the other parties that is being that's affected is the Minister of Health and Social Services. For that, I invite my dear brother Ben Angombe to come and make a statement.
Yeah, thank you very much, Audrey, and good morning, everyone. Yes, the high table, my brother Nashandi, sister Skimba, and my brother Stanley Shanapinda. Thank you for your statement. It has provided a very important context to the issues that we are discussing here this morning. Our country is grappling with this widely reported incident of a cyber attack in our country. The Ministry of Health and Social Services became aware of a possible attack and breach on our IT systems or our servers and dashboards on the 13th of December 2024. Following that, our teams jumped into action in order to establish the extent of this breach. The work that has been done have revealed that the attack did breach one of our dashboards, namely the Pharmaceutical Management Information System. But what is this Pharmaceutical Management Information System? It is a web-based platform which is used to visualize and present aggregate data on essential medicine stock status, on the number of patients enrolled for particular services. Again, this is in aggregate, not individual persons. and this is reported at both facility and national levels. And the information contained in this particular dashboard is information that we usually report on in terms of the interventions that we are implementing, particularly whether it is national interventions against TB or HIV or malaria, etc. So the dashboard is used to support decision making in the pharmaceutical supply planning, and this includes both forecasting and quantification of these products as we plan to procure them from time to time. The healthcare workers use the dashboard to coordinate health commodity management and redistribution across health facilities around the country. And the dashboard sources its data from facility-based electronic tools such as the dispensing tool and the electronic stock cards. So what transpired and what immediate action was taken by the ministry? So our assessment of the breach has confirmed that the PMS or PMIS dashboard has been accessed, and this appears from the information that has been released on social media. Our initial findings indicate that the dashboard remained operational after the breach until after the hosting server was manually shut down by ministry officials. What does this mean? It basically means that as much as the dashboard was illegally accessed, there was no denial of access to our data. So we continue to have access to the data, and we then manually disconnected from the internet this server so that it was then only be accessible to our officials manually within a confined environment. So the ministry continued to have access to the data that was in the dashboard, and we were not denied access there too. So we took the precaution to take this server offline to prevent further damage and to mitigate any risks of further breach or the spread of the attack to other servers within our network. But what it remains unclear is whether this data or this server was copied in its entirety or not. But what we know now is that only the pharmaceutical management information server was accessed. The important question, or what the public is interested in, is the type of data that may have been copied or that is resident in the server that was accessed. So the dashboard database consists again of aggregate data on the monthly stock levels of pharmaceuticals, on the statistics of patients from the public health facilities. And these are statistics, these are numbers. It's not names of people, it's numbers, as to say at a particular facility, so many people access the services. And then the pharmaceutical management performance indicators reported at various intervals. Again, the server is not populated and does not contain personal identifiable patient records. Also, at this point, there is no indication that the leaked data contain such information. However, the names and the email addresses of the primary users of the dashboard, these are the healthcare workers, the staff members of the ministry. This information was part and parcel of the data that was accessed by the hackers. So what steps have been taken and are going to be taken going forward? We have heard that the cyber attacks are things that happen from time to time. As such, ensuring cyber security is part and parcel of the everyday businesses of our institutions. Going forward, the dashboard will be deployed in a new environment with updated security patches, and all user logins details will be changed. So what does that mean? It means this dashboard was accessed because it was deployed and published on the internet. That's how the hackers gained access to it. Now the dashboard has been taken offline and is going to be within that environment so that it's not accessible to anybody through the internet. So, and only the essential users will be registered to gain access to the dashboard going forward. And the dashboard, again, will be hosted within the ministry's internal network off of the internet. That is important to prevent access. We will have strict password policies that will be informed to minimize the risk of compromising the information that we have. So other actions will include now in ongoing investigations to gain deeper understanding together with other stakeholders to get insights into this breach and addressing the server and network vulnerabilities that have been identified. We will be reviewing and enhancing our security policies to protect the sensitive data across the ministry. So that is what we wanted to share as a ministry. And again, we welcome this opportunity to engage with the media so that we can provide the members of the public with adequate information on this incident as it has impacted the Ministry of Health and Social Services. I thank you very much, Moderator.
Thank you, Ben, very much. Government works. We just don't say that we are meeting, but there have already been meetings over the weekend. Try to first create a better understanding of the problem, but also how to resolve it. Again, just to thank the Right Honourable Prime Minister and the Secretary of Cabinet who seized this matter from the very beginning. Through their effort, then they established, they delegated the ED of OPM, Mr. Ben Nashandi, to convene a meeting, which has been meeting and which will continue to meeting until we have rested this matter. And for that purpose, then I invite the Executive Director of the Office of the Prime Minister, Mr. Ben Nashandi, to make a statement.
Thank you, our host, Dr. Mate. Let me also appreciate the colleagues that are joining us from Telecom, Dr. Shanapinda, Mr. Nangombe, ED of Health and Social Services, and Mrs. Emilia Ngekembwa, our regulator from CRAN. And thank you very much, Government Information Center, for convening this meeting, and also members of the media for coming. I just want to state that we are in this environment, and as stakeholders, we are collaborating with each other. The Office of the Prime Minister provides a platform as a service to government entities, that is offices, ministries, and agencies. And as part of this offering, we are also providing security services by default, which include firewall services, virus walls, and IDS. Unfortunately, one of the hosted platforms, which is utilized by the Ministry of Health and Social Services for their pharmaceutical information dashboard and also the aggregate health information, as was detailed by ED Nangombe, was compromised. Upon becoming aware, as explained, of this cyber security incident, which was really circulated on social media, we immediately confirmed the incident through our threat intelligence solution, and which also alerted us of the nature of the compromise. So following the detection, our security system team, as explained, isolated the system, and that was really aimed at preventing any further unauthorized access. So we have really been working closely with all our stakeholders to assist in investigating that and also to determine the full scope of the compromise. While the investigation is really ongoing in order to establish if the attack is extended to other systems, we, as the Office of the Prime Minister, we are continuously updating our cybersecurity frameworks and also the protocols, and to include third-party system vulnerability testing so that we reduce the possibility of any such event reoccurring. I just want also to clarify that at this point, only the information that relates to the Minister of Health and Social Services was compromised. So reference to any other information of the OMAS, those was explained by Dr. Shanapinda, and the way it was reported in the media, I think we need to make a clear distinction that it relates to information that was sitting with Telecom, and it was not compromised from our data center. And therefore, we are at this point not aware of any other leaks from our data center. But we are working as a team with our IT stakeholders under the umbrella of NAMCIRT so that we can strengthen our surveillances and also our data protection. So we just want to give a word of humbleness to our all stakeholders that at this point we are making sure that the data that sits with the government is safe. If anything happens, of course, we will be the first one to make sure that we deploy the necessary protection to that information. But as I explained, cybersecurity threats, these are thefts. These people are stealing data, so it's their job to do it. So our job is to prevent them from doing it. And we will be working around the clock to make sure that all our data centers are safeguarded, and if any incident happens, it is at least proactively identified and measures are taken to address that. So with that, we will be available to address any further questions, and if there are any from the stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you, my brother Edie. You know, at the center of this is CRAN, who are able to detect if there are any threats that are coming our way. For that purpose, I wish to invite the CEO, Ms. Emilia Ngikembwa, to come and make a statement with regards to their role in all of this and prevention and detection, and in fact, to make sure that we are not under further attack. Just to give that reassurance, CEO.
Thank you very much, Edie. I acknowledge the high table. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, good morning. I would like to start by saying that cybersecurity is no longer an exterior concern, rather. It has become a cornerstone of safeguarding our nation's digital infrastructure, economic stability, and the sensitivity of information that we all rely on a daily basis. In today's interconnected world, cyber threats are evolving rapidly, becoming more sophisticated, and targeting critical sectors. These threats pose a risk, significant for that matter, to our critical infrastructure, our critical information infrastructure, and indeed the broader digital ecosystem. And I would like to clarify that cyber incidences are not unheard of. They are a common phenomena that happens within the cyberspace. And I like to give an example of our own homes or our physical properties that we have. We should always safeguard it against somebody breaking in or somebody throwing a stone and breaking a window or somebody coming in and taking something. And this is why we always pay attention to the physical security of that property that you own. With cyber attacks, it is the very same thing. The only difference is that it is now happening in the cyberspace, so it's a common occurrence. Recent developments have brought these risks into sharp focus, underscoring the urgency of strengthening our cybersecurity measures. As a nation, we must remain vigilant and proactive in defending ourselves against these threats to ensure the safety and resilience of our digital infrastructure. And with government being cognizant of this particular concerns and risks, they then established, or government established, what we call a Namibia Cybersecurity Incident Response Team. This is a team that is housed at CRAN, and it is then responsible for coordinating at national level cyber incidences as and when they occur. And as the nation's coordination hub for cybersecurity, NAMCERT is then tasked with detecting, responding, and mitigating cyber threats. And this is why when both incidences occurred, both at Telecom and at the Ministry of Health, the cybersecurity team within CRAN sat down with both teams, and we then worked them through coordinating and ensuring that we overcome the challenge that we were facing. These incidences also serve as a call to action for all stakeholders, and this is really government entities, private sector operators, to adopt internationally recognized best practices to enhance our cybersecurity posture. Measures such as conducting regular security assessment, encrypting sensitive data, implementing multi-factor authentication, applying timely software updates, especially the patches, and maintaining robust access controls are essential. These proactive steps are not just technical measures, but are also strategic investments in the security of our national assets. And much as the entities have this responsibility from a security perspective and a data management perspective, consumers also have an equal responsibility to, number one, educate themselves about cyber attacks, but secondly, and most importantly, as Dr. Shanampinda indicated, learn those measures that you need to take in order to safeguard yourself. Therefore, collaboration is really the key to us overcoming cyber attacks. And as the CERT, we are encouraging all stakeholders to establish strong communication channels as well as partnerships with the NAMCERT. And we've had a lot of discussions, I think, as both the EDs talked about. And what we're picking up is that from an organizational level, data integrity, data security, and protection of your network is critical, but you also need to be prepared on what are those steps to take if you suspect that your network has been compromised. So you need to have some level of education and a policy framework on incident handling. What do you do? What are the steps that you take? Then you also need to have a plan around crisis communication, because when this hits, what is it that you communicate? Who do you communicate to first? And also communicating in a manner that really assures your stakeholders and the general public that, that they are then educated and appraised on what is it that is happening on the ground. We also would like to stress that promptly reporting cybersecurity incidences, especially to the CERT, but also to your security management team, ensures that appropriate responses can be coordinated in a timely manner, minimizing potential damage, and then also safeguarding critical resources. We would also like to stress that when the teams are doing your threat intelligence and your threat assessments, also pay attention to things that may trigger cyber incidences, because today it's happening to Telecom or to the Ministry of Health, but tomorrow it could certainly happen to any other organization. And what the cybersecurity scholars are also teaching us is that sometimes your geopolitical changes may also make the target as a primary, target for cyber incidences. So we also need to educate ourselves around what are those activities that may cause a spike in cyber incidences, and then have the team be prepared to take the necessary measures. Finally, we would like to say that protecting our national critical assets requires more than just reactive measures. It demands a shared commitment to continuous improvement, adherence to global best practice standards, and a culture of cybersecurity awareness. The NAMCERT remains steadfast in its mission to ensure national cybersecurity capacity, to provide expert support to stakeholders, as well as to strengthen Namibia's resilience against emerging threats. Together, we believe that we can build a secure and resilient digital ecosystem, one that not only protects but also empowers our people, our businesses, our government, and our economy at large. Therefore, we would really like to encourage everybody to hold hands and collaborate in a manner that safeguards our digital future as a country. Thank you very much, Edie.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That is what we know at this point in time. Hopefully we can focus on the facts than speculating what is we think is true and it's not true. We understand the gravity of the matter, that we don't wish that our data be compromised anywhere. In the event that we are, then we have outlined the process in which we are mitigating that and how to move going forward. Having said that, and I wish to invite questions from the media, if there should be any, so that we move out of this room better informed than yesterday. Please come to the front and then introduce yourself as you should, then pose your question.
Sorry, good morning. My name is Justicia, I'm from Eagle FM. The first question I had is that there's been a perception that Telecom, as well as its stakeholders, has been keeping silent during this time. What is your response to this? And there's also reports that this incident happened over 3 weeks ago. Why did Telecom only respond to this after the information was leaked? I know you said that there was situations of ransom negotiations and all that. And then I also want to find out, do you know which part of the world these hackers are originating from, if this information is available? And are there any concerns that Telecom or the Office of the Prime Minister might be sued from individuals or maybe entities whose private information has been leaked from their servers? And what is the likelihood of this lawsuit? And I think Mr. Iben was speaking about you continuously updating your cybersecurity framework. I wanted to find out when last was this done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions? If you have a question, please, you can move faster. Can you please come? Can you come, yes, please? All right. Let's take the questions first for Telecom, then also the Prime Minister. You can answer from your seat.
Oh, okay. Thanks very much for the questions. I'll start with the last one. We don't want to speculate about what citizens or customers may do with regards to the particular incident. We stand ready to address any concerns and comments that may come from customers and whatever steps they may make. With regard to the timelines, I think we've got to clarify that in terms of whether there was inaction or not. As we've indicated, this was picked up around early November. We got the cybersecurity experts on board within hours. We stopped or quarantined the particular system to allow further data theft from taking place. And so we were able to limit it to just the 626 gigabits of data compared to the 37,000 bits of data that we do keep. And the rest has been absolutely secured. Then from early November to 11th of December, we introduced all the recommendations from the cybersecurity team. What we are also looking to do now is encryption of the rest of the data. So 11th, 12th of December, that's when the hackers directly approached us for the first time to say, we have these files, we are going to release them. That's when we took the decision, we're not going to negotiate. And then on Friday, that's when the data was released. And immediately after the data was released, We've engaged our teams further. There was a lot of investigation we still had to do, adding to previous ones, to find out what the impact and the real fallout. And as soon as we are able to get a good idea on that, the first thing we did was communicate to the customers affected on the Monday morning, and meeting with various media houses, and then releasing that statement. I don't know if I've got all the questions.
Right, Edie, OPM.
Thank you, Eagle FM, for the question. I think the issue of legal, I think my brother have attempted to answer it. It's a worry, but I think we all need to see what happens after that. What comfort we have at this point, especially with regards to the information that has been leaked from the government, is that no personal information has been leaked. So it was aggregated information, and therefore it could not be ascribed to an individual, save for the email addresses of the users, as has been explained by the Executive Director of Ministry of Health and Social Services. Should that unfortunate happens, then we will have to engage with our legal expert to see how do we overcome that part. With regards to strengthening, I think Mrs. Ngikemba has really explained, this is an ongoing. The last time we did our update, that was in September 2024. It does not look so far. And anytime there is a need for that to be done, we will have to do it. And the Executive Director of the Ministry of Health have already explained that even when, as part of mitigating further impacts of this, we have already addressed the platform on which this information was lying. So it has been relocated and to a newer platform, and the idea is that there it's more safer than the way it was. And the scenario is, you know, the thieves really, it's like they are peeping. You know, when you have your house and you have what you call these new fancy windows, aluminium windows. So when you start to put burglar doors on it, you think it will not look good, and therefore you leave it. So they are peeping to say, where is easy access? And sometimes we need now to forgo the fanciness and go for the physical protection. So we need to make sure that all the walls around these systems are now strengthened. Even when we are not admitting that they were all already safe, but it's only that they have now identified them as easy access for them. So, and that is really what we are trying.
As you draw closer, I'm just going to ask first to get to CRAN, then health, then we'll end up with telecom. Then the team is going to hang around for another few minutes. We can always engage them one-on-one. Please, Ms. Ngiyebo. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Edie. I think for us it's really just to say that cyber incidences must not be viewed just from an organizational perspective. Organizations do have the responsibility to ensure the integrity of their network, but it must also be viewed as a consumer issue, and consumers need to be educated and to be empowered about how do you protect yourself? What are those steps that you need to take to ensure that you are protected? And I think that is really critical. So this time around, and especially to the colleagues from the media, yes, we can convey the information around incidences, what is it that has happened, and we also need to be as factual as possible, but let's also use the time to really educate consumers on how can they educate themselves, because cyber incidences are not unheard of, and this will just be the beginning. And also from a CERT perspective, I think the two that has been reported is the ones that made it to the media, but there's been many other incidences that we have also handled as a CERT, and we are open to share the statistics about what is the outlook for us as a country. So it's not unheard of, but the most important thing is data security, ensuring integrity of our networks, but also educating consumers on how to protect themselves. And then also just to urge public and private sector institutions to please reach out to the CERT so that we can put you on our constituency database, because we also receive a lot of intelligence from CERTs in other countries over institutions within the borders of Namibia. So it's important that we know who to contact so that when we do receive that intelligence, we can then share it and then assist you in incident handling, and then also just ensuring the restoration and integrity of your network. Thank you, Edie.
Sure. Ben?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think from our perspective, what is important is that the stakeholders are talking. Whether it is through CRAN and CERT, the Office of the Prime Minister. We appreciate the support that we have received in handling this particular incident. This cooperation has really enabled us to put the measures in place that we are implementing. And going forward, it's a matter of really strengthening that which we have put in place in the context of ensuring the robustness of our systems and the protection of data. We deal with important information about the private lives of people. The health information is information that is highly personal. So what we are going to do is to make sure that we implement the recommendations that have been made. As we said, the parties sequestrated from the internet, so nobody has got access to it any longer. And these are the measures that will ensure that the data is protected and the Namibian people will be assured of that. Thank you.
Thanks very much. So I think there's one question that I may have missed. It's about tracing the hackers. We are in talks with Namibian police, and we will be requesting them to request assistance through Interpol and so on to trace, and obviously with CRAN as well. One of the key things that we will also investigate is around taking down the information. From our engagements with the International Cybersecurity Team, it seems that may be a little difficult to do, but that's also an avenue that we will also obviously consider and see to what extent we can be successful in that regard. Then in terms of educating the public, I absolutely agree with CRAN with regards to that. And part of when these incidents happen is about the lessons learned. And I think just two more things that I would want to share from what we've learned that I think we should start focusing on is the learnings, the recovery, the moving forward. It is firstly, to the public and particularly to employers, okay? Consider what types of applications you're allowing your employees to download on workplace devices. If you're issuing phones, iPads, laptops to your employees to use as tools, consider what devices you restrict and what device and applications you are allowing your employees to download. These can be used, they have backdoors to sniff around your laptop to find passwords, and that can be used to infiltrate company-wide information. So personally for yourself at home, when you have a personal laptop, change the passwords constantly. If you can buy an antivirus system online, that you can buy it online as well, do it once again, scan it, and protect yourself as well. More importantly, Edie, if you come across any of the information that's been shared, I know that journalists may have downloaded a treasure trove of it for your reporting and so on, but please do not share this information any further. You're opening yourself up to possible criminal liability by sharing information that's been unauthorized by the owner of that information and sharing it to third parties. Because that may cause harm to that person whose information you're sharing. Secondly, you may also be liable for delictual claims. So do not share that information any further. Thanks.
Thank you very much. My brother Edie, OPM, if you can just have a last bite on this, and maybe what it is next from government from our side. Yeah, we'll meet, we'll ask the team to be here, then we can answer all the questions. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes, no, thank you. We will work with all the stakeholders to ensure the safety of all the data. As we are digitalizing, more of data is now into the cloud, and it's really required that we make sure that that data does not land into wrong hands. So let us collaborate as stakeholders. There are other incidents that might not have been reported, and it's very important that under the umbrella of NAMSIRT, we come together, share experiences, and also share solutions. And that is what we are doing henceforth with our stakeholders here under NAMSIRT. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have come to the end of this media briefing. As I mentioned, the team will be here for a couple of more minutes. If you want to have individual media interviews, you are free to approach any of those. As the week goes by, we'll then monitor the situation and see whether it will be necessary for us to issue further updates. Thank you very much.